The night was unusually quiet in downtown Chicago. The sound of distant traffic blended with the soft hum of city lights outside the glass windows of the Grand Royale Hotel. Inside, under the warm glow of chandeliers, stood Emily Carter, a 24-year-old hotel receptionist with dreams far bigger than her uniform. She smiled politely at guests, her heart steady, but behind her calm face was a story of struggle and survival. Emily had moved from a small town in Ohio, carrying only a suitcase and a hope that life in the city would give her something better. Her father had passed away when she was 17, leaving her mother and younger brother with nothing but debts. Working at the hotel was her way of holding her family together. Every night after her shift, she'd send half her salary back home and tell her mother, "It's going to be okay soon." But even she didn't know how long she could keep saying that. Then came Alexander Knight, the new owner of the hotel chain. A 34-year-old billionaire, sharp, confident, and impossibly composed. His reputation was that of a man who never mixed business with emotions. When he first entered the lobby one morning, every employee froze in nervous respect. But Emily didn't look away. Something about him made her curious, not because of his power, but because of the loneliness that hid behind his perfect expression. Their first meeting was accidental. Emily was rushing to deliver a guest report to the top floor when she bumped into him, spilling coffee across his expensive suit. Her hands trembled as she apologized, expecting to be fired on the spot. But Alexander just looked at her, surprised by her honesty and fear. Instead of anger, he said softly, "Relax. Accidents happen. What's your name?" That was the start of something neither of them expected. Days passed, and Alexander noticed Emily more often, her patience with guests, her quiet smile, and how she always stayed late to help others finish their work. One evening, he saw her sitting alone in the break room, tired but still smiling while watching photos of her family on her phone. He asked, "Why don't you go home early for once?" She replied gently, "Because my family depends on me. I can rest later." Her words hit him harder than he thought. Alexander had everything: money, status, power, but no one who truly cared for him beyond his title. Emily's sincerity pulled him in. Slowly, their conversations became longer. They began meeting on the hotel terrace after midnight, talking about dreams, life, and what happiness truly meant. But love between a boss and an employee is never simple. Rumors started spreading. Other staff whispered behind her back, calling her names, saying she was using him to climb the ladder. Emily tried to ignore it, but the humiliation stung. One morning, she was called into the HR office and asked directly if she had an unprofessional relationship with Mr. Knight. Her heart sank. She knew the truth could cost her everything. That evening, she went to Alexander's office with tears in her eyes. "I can't do this," she said. "Everyone thinks I'm here because of you. I worked so hard to earn this job, and now they see me as nothing." Alexander stood silent for a long moment, then said, "If staying close to me hurts your name, I'll stay away. But don't ever think you're nothing. You're the only real thing in my world." Weeks passed without them meeting. The distance broke them both quietly. Alexander threw himself into work, Emily kept her head down, pretending she was fine. But late at night, she'd still look at the terrace, remembering his voice, the warmth in his eyes. The real challenge came when the hotel faced a financial crisis. A deal had gone wrong, and the company's future was at risk. Investors threatened to pull out, and hundreds of employees were at risk of losing their jobs. Alexander looked exhausted, cornered by pressure. One evening, Emily found him alone in his office, head in his hands. Without thinking, she stepped forward and said, "You always told me I was stronger than I believed. Now it's your turn to believe that about yourself." That night, they worked side by side, rebuilding proposals, contacting clients, and preparing presentations to save the business. Emily's loyalty and intelligence impressed everyone, even those who once doubted her. In the board meeting that followed, she stood up and spoke from her heart, defending Alexander's vision and the company's integrity. Her confidence turned the tide. The investors stayed. The hotel was saved. When the meeting ended, applause filled the room, but Emily only looked at him. He smiled, not as her boss, but as the man who loved her with silent pride. Later, on the terrace where it all began, the city lights shimmered beneath them. Alexander took her hand gently and said, "You were never the hotel girl to me. You were the reason I learned what love really means." Emily's eyes filled with tears. "And you were the reason I learned to believe in myself." They knew their love wasn't perfect, but it was real. They faced gossip, judgment, and separation, yet came out stronger. By the time the hotel celebrated its next anniversary, Alexander introduced Emily not as an employee, but as the new director of guest relations, and the woman who changed his life. The story of Emily and Alexander became a quiet legend in the corridors of the Grand Royal Hotel, a reminder that love built on respect, trust, and truth can survive any challenge. And when Emily looked out over the city from her office window, she smiled softly, knowing she had earned every bit of this life. Not because she was lucky, but because she was brave enough to love, even when the world told her not to.